Well, holy cow. The New York Jets and Ryan Fitzpatrick came to an agreement after all as I was eating sushi at Benihana. That's right. The New York Jets and Ryan Fitzpatrick have agreed to a one-year deal worth $12 million. And, it's a deal that sort of was bound to happen. Everybody thought it was going to happen. I personally thought it was going to happen a lot earlier. And instead, it was dragged out to July 27th, the day the Jets reported to training camp. Once again, another 11th hour, 59th minute, and 59th second deal for Mike Maccagnan and the New York Jets. Welcome to this live Jet Fuel reaction. I am Matt Barbado, founder and editor-in-chief of New York Jet Fuel, joined by my co-pilots, Max Marcilla and Adam Zalonka. And yes, it's been, of course, Geno Smith gets punched out while I'm on the golf course. Ryan Fitzpatrick re-signs while I'm eating a California roll. And I'm going to stop complaining about that. And, there's only so much you can do with this team's timing. Do you guys think, and Max, I'll let you lead this off, do you guys think the re-signing of Ryan Fitzpatrick gives the Jets the best chance to win in 2016?
Oh, absolutely. Hey, we lost Adam. All right, he'll come back.
Adam has died, very tragically. So.
Oh, all right. Maybe we'll sign Adam to a one-year, $12 million deal.
Yeah, he wants a raise. I think he's holding out.
Yeah. Anyway, your question: does this make the Jets better? Are they the best team? Absolutely. This was a deal that had to get done. And I tweeted out my thoughts briefly. It's been such a whirlwind of the last couple hours. Can the Jets make the playoffs with Hackenberg or Petty? I said no, definitely no. Can the Jets make the playoffs with Geno? Maybe. Doubtful was the word I used. Can they make the playoffs with Fitzpatrick? I'm not going to say yes, but I have a hard time saying no, a definite no. I think Fitzpatrick gives them the best chance to win. We've seen what he can do with Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker as far as chemistry goes. And not only, and look, Geno Smith, I think the one big advantage he has over Ryan Fitzpatrick is his ability to throw the deep ball. So I think what the Jets will be missing in that, they will gain with Fitzpatrick's, his short to medium game that will work tremendously with Matt Forte. And I think Jason Morrow could factor into that. I think it was a great move, one that needed to be done. I'm so happy it's done. I think this makes the Jets team, they are at their best right now with Fitzpatrick, with Wilkerson, and it's crazy. They got everything that they needed to do done. It took welcome back, Adam.
Hello.
And welcome back. It took way too long to get everything done, but they did it. They somehow signed Wilkerson, somehow signed Fitzpatrick, Darren Lee. It was just a formality, but they got that done. What a week. What a great job by Mike Maccagnan. Now it's all about, can the team put it together on the field?
Absolutely. And Adam, you kind of dropped out right before I asked the question, but do you think this gives the Jets the best chance of winning this year? We'll take a look at the future in a second, but this year, are the Jets at their very best?
This year, this couldn't have worked out better, in my opinion. Having Fitz under center, having Wilkerson locked up long-term is good for this year, too, because it's good for the locker room. It's good that Wilkerson's not going to potentially hold out. It's good that Lee's under contract, obviously. We weren't going to let that go too far. But especially in terms of Fitzpatrick, no other quarterback is proven to win 10 games with a roster that looks basically like this. I believe this roster has only gotten slightly better from last year when it's all said and done. And even though the Jets' schedule is going to be tougher in 2016, which is a completely fair point, I think that Fitzpatrick gives the team the best chance to win. Geno might surprise us somewhere along the line. I don't know. I still want to have faith in him. And Hackenberg's a long-term project. Petty probably is too. That's why Fitzpatrick really being here gives the Jets the best chance to get in the playoffs.
And we can talk about the schedule, and it is tough. They have to play the NFC West, and they have to play the AFC North. And will we be getting the same Fitzpatrick from last year? I don't think so. I don't think Fitzpatrick will throw. He had 31 touchdowns to 15 picks. I still expect him to have more touchdowns than interceptions. I don't expect him, however, to put up that ratio or that many touchdowns, maybe not even that many yards. He almost had 4,000. But I'll tell you what, he gives the Jets the best chance to win right now. And what we've seen from this Jets team is that they're going to win now. And it's weird because in the NFL, you think, all right, there's usually, a couple tiers of teams. There's the teams where you think have a legitimate shot of winning it all. There's some playoff teams. There's some, okay, maybe they'll have a good year and get in. And then there's some, who's going to get the first overall pick teams. And coming into the offseason, the Jets honestly could have fallen in almost any one of those categories. And I think right now they're at their best. They are the closest to, I would say, that playoff tier. And look, the schedule is going to be hard, and I don't think Fitz will duplicate his 2015 performance. But they're right there. And Matt, I pointed this out to you, and I want to get your guys' take on this. Pittsburgh Steelers, probably without Le'Veon Bell the first 4 weeks. New England Patriots, definitely without Tom Brady the first 4 weeks. I know that's only a quarter of the season, but you have to start to think that maybe this opens up the AFC a little bit. Maybe the Patriots start off 2-2, and then they come back and they're not in a group. This opens up the AFC a little bit, and now that the Jets have their full team ready, I think they have a chance to make some noise.
What sort of conflicts me is, yes, I think the Jets are at their very best, but I don't know if their best is going to be good enough. And I've been pretty open in saying that I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick repeats what he did in 2015. That's just my thought. I think 31 touchdowns, nearly 4,000 yards, setting a Jets single-season passing touchdown record. That's pretty much, I think, the peak you'll see from Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think that's the absolute best you can get from him, especially given that this year's schedule is going to be much more difficult. Do I think the Jets have a shot at the playoffs? Yes. I think their defense, if their secondary is sound, and I have questions about Revis, I have questions about Marcus Williams. I really don't know if he's a number 2 cornerback yet. I think their defense will be top 3 in the league. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be dynamic. It's going to be ferocious. Offensively, I think what's kind of weird is I think the Jets have sort of been tailoring their offense and sort of building it for Ryan Fitzpatrick throughout the offseason. You look at what they did, and you read into these moves a little bit. They pretty much swap out Chris Ivory for Matt Forte. The only indication that gives me is they're looking to be more of a quick passing offense, short mid-range throws, lots of checkdowns to the running backs, and Forte fills that role admirably. But they also bring back Bilal Powell, which he's a poor man's Matt Forte. So clearly the Jets they have this mindset of they're going to keep it short. They're going to keep it between maybe 8 to 15, 20 yards downfield, and they're just going to dink and dunk it down the field, I think, because we all know Fitzpatrick can't really throw deep. He doesn't have the best accuracy going beyond 20 yards. So I think the Jets they're going to use their playmakers to create separation. And then if they're not open and you're going to take away their top 2 receivers, they'll beat you all day just checking it down to the running backs and getting the running backs involved in the passing game. So while I think the offense is tailored toward Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm not sure. I haven't seen the consistency out of this guy, and he's 33 years old. He's a veteran. I haven't seen the consistency out of this guy to repeat a really strong season. He had a really good season in Buffalo that got him paid. He didn't really follow it up. So with that, I'm cautiously optimistic, but against a schedule that features Seattle, Arizona, Pittsburgh, obviously the divisional foes, lots of good, out-of-division games, I don't know if he'll get 30 touchdowns again this season, and I think the defense might be good enough to carry them, but the offense still has to hold its own.
I wanted
to
touch on what Matt was saying about Fitzpatrick and touchdown totals and tie it back into the schedule point. If I had to put some numbers out there, I would probably predict about, if we're saying fewer touchdowns and more picks, I'm definitely in agreement there. I'd say maybe 24 touchdowns and 20 picks against some of the tough defenses that he's going to play. He might have a 3-interception game, and it might be something we'll have to live with. But if they stay in games, those totals might not be disastrous. 24 and 20 might not prevent the entire team from making the playoffs.
That's true.
I think when you look at the schedule, you mentioned 2 very good teams in the NFC West, but the other 2 teams in that division are very beatable. And I started thinking about this today. Now that we know who the quarterback is supposed to be, week 1 and move forward from week 1, we can start to sit and say, okay, we can beat Cleveland. They can beat Baltimore. They can beat the Rams and the Niners. If they go 4-2 in the AFC East, that's already 8 wins.
It's a lot to ask for, considering they can't beat Buffalo to save their lives.
Right.
But I hear what you're saying.
No,
okay.
The point's
so if you follow
taken,
that,
Adam. Go ahead, continue.
Well, yeah, I was just going to finish by saying if you follow that, that's 8 wins. They usually, even though they lose a game that they're supposed to win every year, they also win a game they're supposed to lose. Some of the tougher teams in there could be Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Seattle, which were mentioned, and the Chiefs, off the top of my head. Not to mention the Patriots will always pose problems, and I don't know if 9-7 is going to make the playoffs. It might be a lower record than last season, but there were it was a top-heavy conference last season, which surprises me because the AFC is usually the lesser of the two. It's been for at least a decade that I can tell. So I wanted to pose it to you guys, and Max, I mean, I don't want to take the conversation off what you were about to say, but I wanted to ask you guys if you think 9-7 would be good enough for the Jets to get a wild card at least.
Well, that's close to what I was going to say, so you didn't really dwell my thoughts too much.
That depends who you beat. Because unlike last season, they will get a chance to play KC, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati. They're playing teams that beat them out for playoff spots last year.
True.
So that matters, and if you win those head-to-head games, that gives you a better chance. 9-7 in the AFC, I think, does get you in because, okay, real quick, Denver doesn't have a quarterback. They have currently the worst quarterback situation in the league right now. I don't think it's
nice
getting
that
any.
We can say that, and it's not about our team, but
Well, the Jets might be like 31st, so they're not too far behind. But
we're ahead Cleveland, but go on.
So they're defending Super Bowl champs, and they could take a major step back. Obviously, that defense is going to be unbelievable. Staying in the West, Oakland is a sexy pick. They're still the Raiders. You don't know. We'll see what Derek Carr can do in his third season. Kansas City should be good, but they lose their offensive coordinator. Alex Smith is Alex Smith. Andy Reid is Andy Reid. I think they're beatable. The North is good. I think Baltimore will be better. Cincinnati should be good again. Who else is it? Pittsburgh should be good, even without Le'Veon Bell for the first, 4 games. And then, Cleveland. And then you got the East, which is, New England, and then you got the South, which is terrible. And the South is terrible. And I think the Jets are better than any team in the South right now.
Right.
So really, if you look at the AFC, it's Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, maybe Denver, probably New England. Those are the only teams I see as locks.
A good point.
Right.
Last year, the best record. So, sorry, you go, Max. You go.
Thank you. I'm trying to steal my thunder, Adam. I was just going to say, you look at last year, and what we always talk about to be a curse in the sense of a hard schedule could be a blessing for the Jets this year, because last year, towards the end of the year, not only did they have to win, but they had a scoreboard watch. They had to say, okay, this team has to lose, and this team has to lose, and this team has to lose, and this team has to tie, and there were some crazy scenarios going on. You look at this year, and I think, Matt, you brought up a great point. The AFC North is not only, I think, the best division, definitely the best division in the AFC, possibly the best division in football, but it could easily be the 2 wildcard teams could be from that division for the second straight year. Or, no, it was Kansas City last year. I'd take that back.
2 years ago it happened, right?
Right, 2 years ago. That's what it was. Yeah. That's what it was. And that division could have 3 playoff teams. So what could be a curse in playing those teams could also be a blessing for the Jets. Matt, you brought it up. If they beat them, they could get in the playoffs with the 9-7 record. But what I think is the big thing about this deal, you look at the floor with Geno Smith, and it's low. I think the floor with Geno Smith is like 4-12, 5-11. The ceiling is good. I think the ceiling is also 9-7 for Geno Smith. But for Fitzpatrick, I think the ceiling is a lot higher, and that's why this deal had to get done. I think the ceiling for the floor for Fitzpatrick is 7-9.
Yeah, I was gonna say the ceiling for Fitzpatrick. What could that be? 11, 12 wins.
I don't even think so.
They only won 10 games. They only won 10 games against the schedule.
I think the ceiling is only marginally better than Smith's. I think the ceiling for Fitz is
much higher than Smith's.
10-6, but the floor is much higher, and that's why this deal had to get done, because the Jets have done a lot to build this team. They've gotten a ton of young players, especially on that defensive side. Calvin Pryor looks like he's on the verge of stardom. Leonard Williams has all the talent in the world. They've locked up Muhammad Wilkerson. They have, say what you want about the linebacking crew, because it's going to be a who's who by the second week of the season. But you've got some young pieces there, Darren Lee, Trevor Riley. It's an interesting group with a lot of young talent, and the Jets couldn't afford to take that big step back this year. They need to keep building. They need to get back. Look at 2010, 2011. Those Rex Ryan-led Jets teams, yeah, they were good, but it lasted 2 years. The year before 2009, they were not good. The year after 2010, they were not good. So they need to build. They need consistency. That's what this deal brings. Even though it's 1 year, it keeps the train going.
So you said the word consistency.
Oh, boy, it's going to come right back in my face.
No, not necessarily. It's just, so what the Jets are, and we're segueing over to a next topic, but what the Jets are essentially saying with this deal, in my opinion, is, Fitz, we like you, just not after 2016. And I don't think the Jets make this deal without the thought of, we have someone on the roster right now who's ready to play quarterback for us in the future. And I just don't think you're going to want to. Do the Jets really want to go through this again in 2017? I don't. I think they're cognizant of that, and I think they're expecting Christian Hackenberg to step up. And I'm really curious to hear if you guys think this is a sound plan. Not just signing Fitz. We all kind of agree signing Fitz is the best move, but signing him for only 1 year, are you happy with that? Do you think that's the prudent approach, or should they maybe buy themselves another year or two and maybe have signed him to a 2 or 3 year deal?
Adam, go ahead.
All right. Well, I think that a lot can happen in 1 year. It's longer than we're really sitting here in July saying, oh, a season's going to go by like that. But a year, it not only shows what Fitz is going to do as the presumptive starter for 2016, it also shows it gets Hackenberg in camp for a year and in practice and behind these guys watching and learning on the bench. I don't see what's wrong with that. It allows Petty and Gino to still be around. We'll talk about who's going to stay and who's going to go a little later, I'm sure, but I don't see it as much of a problem in the short term or in the long term, because let's say, okay, the draft's in April or May usually, with that weekend where it's the beginning of May. By next March, when Fitzpatrick's going to be a free agent once again, by next March, the Jets will have a clearer idea of what Fitzpatrick can deliver and what Hackenberg can deliver. Let's focus on those two for the sake of the argument. If Hackenberg looks like, we've watched him in camp and he's not ready yet, then they can maybe toy with the idea of saying Fitzpatrick can come back. The other thing is you still have other guys in there. But for the sake of the argument, if you figure Hackenberg looked great, he's moved up to number 2 on the depth chart, he's ready to go at a moment's notice, then you don't need to bring back Fitzpatrick. You know how they set this deadline for today, Fitzpatrick, by 7 p.m., if you don't sign, we're moving on? They don't need to wait till the first day of training camp next year to do that. If they see that Hackenberg has had a good rookie campaign as the number 2, as somebody who's developed in the background. So I don't see it as too much of a problem. It becomes more of a problem if Fitzpatrick has a year very comparable to 2015. The Jets either miss the playoffs or they don't make it far. He looked about the same, and he's a year older now, and you still don't have it figured out behind Fitzpatrick. I'd say that's the worst-case scenario. I don't know. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, it's up in the air. It really depends on how this season goes. But I'll tell you this, probably my favorite thing about the 1 year deal for Fitzpatrick is there will be deja vu next year, because Fitzpatrick will be a free agent and Sheldon Richardson will be in Muhammad Wilkerson's shoes. And we've talked about that. We've done a video on that. We've written articles. Check them out, www.nyjetfuel.com. A little plug, never hurt nobody. But anyway, we've talked about Sheldon Richardson, how he could get the franchise tag next year. And the Jets will be in the same position. So how do you want to spend your money? Right now, you look at the roster, you say, this is a team built for winning now. They are not a team built for the longevity, for the future. Some of their best players, you look at Marshall and obviously now Fitzpatrick, are on the older side. Nick Mangold also, throw him in that group, Revis. But next year, who knows what this roster is going to look like? And maybe, to your point, Adam, the Jets like Hackenberg, like what he's done. Maybe they like Petty, like what he's done. And that way, the Jets don't have to say, okay, we'll still have to pay Fitzpatrick, $12 million for a questionable 34-year-old quarterback. Instead, they can allot that money to a guy like Sheldon Richardson. I think it's a smart move that, of course, it could backfire, but any move could. I think the one-year deal was a smart move, and I like the way the Jets set the deadline. Last year, there were a couple players, a couple that come to mind, Devin Smith and Ryan Fitzpatrick, who missed some of training camp. Fitzpatrick didn't miss training camp, but he was a backup in training camp. Devin Smith missed, and you could see how it affected them. Fitzpatrick got better as the year went along. You could see the chemistry was better. Smith never really got into the groove of the offense. I like the way the Jets set the deadline because I know it's training camp. I know Fitzpatrick's a veteran in the league, but there truly is something to be said about chemistry and working with the guys and having that month period before the games actually count.
Yeah, I think what this move says, other than the obvious, the underlying sort of thing that I'm taking away is the Jets are really high on Christian Hackenberg to do this. I mean, they have to think that this kid's going to be ready next season to take the reins and at least give it a shot. Because I think if you don't think that, you maybe sign Fitz to a cheaper, or you sign him to a 2-year deal, and year 2 is a little bit cheaper. So I really think this is a move that signifies, yes, Fitz is the short-term guy, but I think in a year they're hoping that they've developed Hackenberg to the point where he can step in and play. And I don't know if that's the most, I guess, careful approach, and you never know how a guy's going to perform even though he hasn't played. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops, but I think that signifies that they really like Christian Hackenberg, and that sort of brings me to the final point before we wrap this up. The Jets aren't keeping 4 quarterbacks. They've got Fitzpatrick back. They still have Geno Smith. They have Hackenberg and Bryce Petty. Real quick, I'm curious to hear who you guys think is the odd man out.
I'm going to go with Bryce Petty just because, we talked about they have to see a lot in Hackenberg to sign the 1-year deal with Fitzpatrick. He's a second-round pick. You can't give up on him before he even gets a chance. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets actually do keep 4 quarterbacks. Of course, it would mean cutting a guy somewhere else, which, we'll see. I have to look, I usually like my 90-man roster, lay it all out, take a whiteboard, cross them off. I like to play that game around the 3rd, 4th preseason game. So I'll have to do that before I give you, am I really surprised? But right now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets keep 4 quarterbacks. If they do keep 3, Petty has to be the obvious choice out. And another key aspect to this deal, the Jets actually have a veteran backup. If they didn't have Fitzpatrick, it would be Geno Smith, and if he got hurt, it would be a guy who's never thrown a ball in the NFL in a regular season game. Now, at least they have some experience on the bench, so that's what I like about this deal, too. I can go on and on. Adam?
What you just said is a very important point. If Geno Smith's not on this roster for week 1 and your 3 quarterbacks are Fitzpatrick, Petty, and Hackenberg, you're right. Then your 2 backups have never had any NFL experience. That's what gives Smith the precedence over Petty. So my first reaction is to say Petty is the odd man out because he's not as new as Hack, even though it's only by 1 year, but he still doesn't have the experience Geno has. That's what Geno has as an asset. But my one caveat for that is we know Nick Foles got released today, so maybe there's a veteran quarterback on the market that has some playing experience, but I still think that Geno Smith might garner a low-round draft pick, and the Jets might wait a couple weeks in preseason, see who gets hurt on other teams. See, this X and Y team might be looking for a veteran quarterback in short notice and be willing to part with a 6th rounder, maybe. That's the only other situation I could see. You don't think so?
No, maybe Denver. Maybe if Sanchez really sucks,
it's Sanchez and Geno.
Maybe Denver.
Oh my God! Could you imagine if Mark Sanchez and Geno Smith are on the same team?
Yeah, and then Sanchez would probably break his collarbone just like he did with the Jets in the game that ended his Jets career.
I could go on and on about that play. I think that was as soon as that happened, I said Rex Ryan's on his way out.
That's an underrated moment. If you ever did like a documentary called "This Moment in Recent Jets History," that would be a big one.
30 for 30.
Yeah, I think it's Petty too. I understand the upside to Petty might be a little bit more than the upside to Geno Smith, but can you, like Adam said, you can't really go into this with two guys who have never thrown a professional pass. We'll see what Petty looks like in the preseason. I'm anxious to watch that. I think it's worth giving those guys at least until the end of preseason to decide. And you might have to make a sacrifice at another position, but I think it's worth. I think it's worth giving Petty his full opportunity. And I don't think you really have to worry about Fitz playing a whole lot in the preseason. So I think giving a good rotation of Geno, Hackenberg, and Petty, I think that would be the prudent approach. Just survey your options, and if Petty stars, maybe you do keep him, and maybe you take a chance. And I mean, obviously that changes things drastically because you don't know what Hackenberg will look like. But I do think Petty becomes the odd man out. I think they stick with Geno as a backup because you do need someone with some sort of experience in the NFL. And I think it would go down as a complete waste of a fourth-round pick and a really horrible pick on McCagnon's part. But hindsight's 20/20, and I don't think the
Better than wasting a second-round pick.
I don't think the Jets expected to be in this position at all, where they were, you got to remember that pick was made before Geno Smith got his job dropped, and Ryan Fitzpatrick thrives in his, debut season with the team. So a lot of it's hindsight, but it is a waste of a fourth-round pick if they do cut Bryce Petty. We'll see if it'll haunt them. I mean, we'd have to look back.
Good on 100% of them.
Right, you can't be good. I mean, that's like if you cut Bryce Petty, that's an F. I mean, you got 2 preseason games out of him, never played a game, F. So, and you took him in the 4th round where you can still get good players. But that's an aside. It'll be a waste of a 4th-round pick because I think Petty's a goner.
An F is better in the 4th round than the 2nd round. I'll continue to say that. That's why you can't let Hackenberg go. I don't care what you see in the kid.
No, Hackenberg's not going anywhere unless.
I don't know if
anybody. And I'll tell you what, because I'm not high on Hackenberg. I watched him a little bit. I don't like his accuracy. I thought he had some problems with that. I'm not high on him as a professional quarterback. But I'll tell you this: you take anyone in the 2nd round, you're not going to cut them.
No. Yeah, I don't think anyone was suggesting that. So I don't even know if that's.
I was just making sure you guys aren't going crazy on me.
No,
I am sleep deprived.
I think the Jets keep 4 quarterbacks. I think it's more likely the Jets keep 4 quarterbacks throughout all 17 weeks of the regular season than cutting Hackenberg. Unless Hackenberg, his arm falls off, or he's like Charles Barkley in Space Jam, where he just can't do anything right. And is throwing balls, to the far side.
Even then, don't give up on the 2nd-round pick.
If he's doing that, I might. But we have to wrap this up. We have gone long enough, that is for sure.
Yeah, Matt, tell all of our viewers right now, where are they going to go for their Jets news? Who are they going to follow?
Oh, well, you got it. I mean, training camp is going to be an absolute circus. And Jet Fuel will be there live. Max and Adam will be in Florham Park. July 30th, I know both of you guys will be there. July 31st, it'll be just Max, and they will have you covered on everything happening at Jets camp. It should be a lot of fun. I'll be overseeing from my kingdom in Chicago, and it'll be a blast. And be sure to follow these guys at Adam_Zalanka and at mmarcilla98. And, of course, you got to follow at New York Jet Fuel because we will be updating you live on everything happening. If Geno Smith drops a water bottle, you will know about it. So get ready.
Aquafina or Poland Spring, you will be the first to know.
Okay, I meant like the Gatorade bottles. The one, the
Dead water. Dead water.
Okay. All right,
Don't forget at Real can't say it, at Real Matt Barbado.
Yeah.
There's one you can
Give
plug.
him a follow if you want his analysis and power rankings on water bottles in the NFL.
And watch lists.
And say hi to us. If you see me or Adam, say hi. We're nice.
Yeah. Saying hi to you guys. We'll be trying to make some friends in the middle of the work.
Oh, should we read off some of those 5 words to describe?
Let's do that. We did a little before.
Do we have any real quick that we'd like to read?
Well, Matt, you can go through that, and I'll give everyone the rundown. If you're watching this video and if you're going to be at Jets training camp, I'll be there as much as I can. I'm just hanging out before I go off to college. So if you see me, if one of the Jet Fuel followers finds me and says hi, that would make my day. So come say hi to us. But yeah, we'll stay tuned. We have a piece running right now on nyjetfuel.com, courtesy of Adam Zalanka. He wrote 5 questions heading into the Jets training camp. It's a good piece. Read it. Matt wrote a column about pretty much what we just talked about, but why Ryan Fitzpatrick makes the Jets as good as they're going to get. Check that out at Jet Fuel. And, yeah, I think that's it. Matt,
okay, here we go. All right, here's one from Phil Russomano, at Phil Russomano. Pissed, mad, salty, angry, annoyed.
Oh my God.
We asked our followers to give 5 words to describe their thoughts on this signing, so that's a little bit of context. LGM at Nick_Crow gave us 3 words, saying happy and ready, so he will not win the prize that we don't have. A lot of people don't understand we asked for 5 words. Here's a good one from a pretty negative Jets fan. Ben Henry at Big Ted 10. Best of a bad bunch. That's pretty good. Good
I
alliteration.
thought that was clever.
All right.
And to be fair, I did say in the tweet we said 5 words or less, so 3 qualifies.
That might be my favorite one.
Yeah, that's taking the
bad
prize
bunch.
so far.
All right,
Definitely.
this is from Baki Basi. I don't know. Marshall and Decker are pumped. That's
Hey,
accurate.
yes, they are.
I bet they are. We know Jesse
one of
James
us
is
has got to
that
pull up that video of Marshall's Instagram video where the teddy bear Fitzpatrick throws in the touchdown.
Michael Burns, kill me, and then kill me in one word.
Oh my God.
KWR14 _ Las Vegas. It's a really weird Twitter handle, and he's got the Minnesota Twins.
Oh, you
Avatar,
are
so-
harsh.
Fitzpatrick throws to Marshall, touchdown. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
On the touchdown.
What else do we have here as I'm scrolling? Be sure to follow us at New York Jet Fuel, by the way, and you can tweet this at us if you'd like. All right, here's a good one. Graham Whitlaw at Graham 4th. That is a numeral 4th. Schedule is rough. Be prepared.
Ooh.
That's well done.
I like the way you read that too, man.
That's like a fortune cookie. And that's all I got. Schedule is rough. Be prepared is what we will end on. And
Very nice.
This was fun. Thanks for participating in that. We really appreciate it. We love most of our Jet Fuel followers.
All of them. I love all. Yeah.
No, most of them.
I don't
Not
love
all of them.
a small sample of them. But yes,
The
be sure to follow us at New York Jet Fuel. Like us on Facebook. We'll have a podcast hopefully later in the week, sort of previewing training camp as these guys get ready to head to Forum Park on
Saturday.
Saturday is the first Jets open practice, and we'll have you covered when they're not there either. So don't worry, we'll have you covered. And this has been a Jet Fuel video, and thank you very much for watching.